Hi, everybody, and welcome to Reed's Reads Spider-Man Crawl Space Edition. Check us out at the SpiderManCrawlspace.com. Well, as promised, guys, after the big King in Black midpoint review, I'm here back to review issues 57 and 58 of The Amazing Spider-Man, aka 858 and 859. I had to get the digital copy, though, for the week's review due to a crazy snowstorm that kind of blew through my area, so I'm hopefully picking up my paper copy soon, but I'm all set to go to, of course, review, issues 57 and 58 by Nick Spencer, Mark Bagley, and Jelen Frecko. So let's get into the pros with, of course, issue 57, and we'll move to 58. So first of all, 57. This really takes us right after the aftermath of Last Remains. It really shows what happened right after the whole pumpkin bomb and attack on Kindred, Spider-Man, and Norman Osborn. And we found out Mary Jane actually did fake everything using flash grenades and so forth. And of course, Kindred, who's nicely, locked up in his dark box, is all set up and in Ravencroft. Of course, Spider-Man breaks on in wanting answers as he tries to figure out what is going on with Harry because he doesn't understand. Harry was having a good life going on with Liz, his two kids, and then all of a sudden he's back this. Not to mention, he also finds out that Norman Osborn is still cleansed. He's actually been pretending to be evil and trying to figure out what's going on. And it's really a brutal thing because it's just a great story that really goes in between the work and the art of writing, because it's just really is as Peter just confronts Norman over all the issues and actually can just goes at him both physically and mentally, just hitting back at Norman Osborn, but all the craziness he did that destroyed his life and Harry's life and his family's life, about always having to be the guy in charge and always be evil because that's just who he is. He's Norman Osborn, and now of course he's evil free, but he says, well, what's been the excuse before? I took away your powers, you still did it. I cured your insanity, you still did evil stuff. Oh, now you are cleansed, and guess what? You're still doing very evil stuff, even if you're pretending to be good. It's a really dark turn story, not to mention the fact that, Harry himself as Kindred is basically smiling why this is all going on, like this is exactly what I want to be and where I want. So it works pretty good, but, some of the cons is, we had a lot of this aftermath, so of course that caused problems to begin with, because, here we have this huge giant order, storyline, everything else. And then this is what gives us some more of the answers about what happened in between. Also, the fact the Order of the Web, as much as it's gone in, it just proves Julia Carpenter still the world's worst psychic. When everyone from Ghost Spider to Miles Morales to Julia to Jessica Carpenter to Arena are saying, like, I don't get it. What is this really about? Oh, you'll get your answers. Just not now, okay? You got it. You're a good reader. I'm Julia Carpenter. I'm the new Madam Web. I can't give you the answers, but I know the answers. I know they're coming, but I can't give them to you. I'm sorry. I'm going to go now hide in my little corner room. But remember, we're the Order of the Web. Get our own spin-off series. Yeah, this does not work. So it's actually a very good. I'm actually going to give it an A-. It's really great because it's such a character work and everything. The art by Mark Bagley is just absolutely beautiful. And I do like how some of the pieces kind of fall together, which of course picks up to where we're going now with issue 58. So let's get into the pros and cons of issue 58. Well, first the pros. The one thing is it starts answering some of the questions as we see with the Kingpin about why him and Kindred actually ended up partnering, the fact that Kindred actually denied him in between the little Brian Michael Bendis and of course Andy Brollin's issues of Daredevil where he was in France and everything, where Kingpin was trying to find the life tablet, and of course he got to the catacombs and there was Kindred, which also kind of coincides with the One More Day and the Brand New Day timeline of how Harry was supposed to be in rehab in Paris at the same time. So it kind of puts all together what the connections are, but at the same time we're not quite sure. Also, it's really good because here we actually have Liz Osborn. Finally, Liz, after all this time, after going down swinging, after everything that happened in Spider-Man 2099, we get some really good character work between Peter and Liz, and it's well done, including the fact that Peter has to admit that Harry has basically become evil and done all these horrible things again, and she just doesn't understand what's going on. But at first she doesn't believe it until, of course, Normie Osborn, fresh from, remember that little crossover where Norman was Carnage during Absolute Carnage? Oh, let me put in my birthday. Reveal the Green Goblin costume that I knew about, that I told, of course, Dylan Brock about. It's in continuity, so it's a cool thing, but it's also so heartbreaking. But at the same time, it also sets up more question, as Peter says himself. But why would Harry become Kindred, this demonic creature who, of course, does all these things, if he was ready to become the Green Goblin. So you don't know if it's kind of pushing back what Normie is thinking, maybe Normie's becoming the Green Goblin, or the fact that maybe there was another plan to throw things off that Peter doesn't will. And that kind of goes back to the cliffhanger in issue 57, which I'm mentioning now, where of course we saw Carly Cooper there, of course, being attacked by the centipede, finding a body that wasn't there. And the question was, what body she thought? Many people think maybe she saw Harry Osborn's body and he's actually dead and the centipede stopped it. Because those centipedes are still running through these storylines. As we know, even though Harry as Kindred is all locked up in Ravenclaw in the Dark Shield, the fact is he still has some kind of mental control. And also, we kind of get some more of the paid pieces of trying more of that mystery, what is going on. But then that kind of leads to the cons too, is of course Peter facing Mr. Negative. I mean, I've always liked the concept of Mr. Negative and who he was, and let's face it, if you played the Spider-Man PS4 game, Mr. Negative was used very well. But we kind of get a flashback with Martin Lee, and as much as Aunt May tries to sympathize Martin, he is and everything, it just kind of feels like it's just kind of set up for everything, that Martin's like, well, I can't, but I found out since we're in the Feast Center, which is in an old church, it's a holy place, his sins can't come and get me now, so I can't become Mr. Negative, but Mr. Negative needs to come back so we can be the bad guy, because all his inner demons are ready to come over. But here's always been my question, here the Sin Eater, cleanse everybody. We know the sins have returned to especially the inner demons and everything, and brought them back, and it's been kind of repelling. But as we know, the inner demons need to have Mr. Negative presence. They only can go so long and have to find a way to force Martin Lee to become Mr. Negative. So it's kind of confusing exactly what's going here. As much as it's really great with the battle scenes at the beginning of the story with Spider-Man fighting the inner demons to protect Aunt May and of course Randy Robertson over at the Feast Center, kind of leads to too much flashbacks to the story, because we kind of got thrown in Mr. Negative was during Sin's Rising, and now he's back. And apparently he's somehow connected with Kindred, with the life tablet, to what the Kingpin needs, and the reason why the Kingpin is making a deal to have Mr. Negative kind of brought back. So it kind of leads to a couple of confusion. Plus the art style by Frederico is kind of a little messed up. It gets very dark and gritty, and sometimes the characters are there, and sometimes their faces turn like kind of in the dark and melting. So it's kind of an offset. But it also feels like the story's dragging. As much as we're waiting for issue 59 to find out Negative Part 2, what it's going to really lead to, the conclusion, how Mr. Negative really fits into the whole grand scheme of these storylines with Kindred and Spider-Man, the Kingpin, and Norman Osborn, it kind of brings a letdown with the issue, which gives me a B- for issue 58 of The Amazing Spider-Man. I really loved 57. I thought it was a fantastic work from art style to storyline to character work. And then 58, we got some really nice pieces between Peter and Liz, the revelation of the Green Goblin, the revelation of actually how Kingpin and Kindred met, and even some of the nice character work on Aunt May, who's doing very good jobs, but at the same time as we kind of feel like Mr. Negative's here, he's important to the plot, but the kind of flashback over a flashback over a flashback kind of derails the story along with the artwork and makes it feel like it's spinning. So that's where I'm going to leave that story. A- with 57, B- with issue 58. And with that, everybody, and with the furnace kicking off and all the heat, I think that's going to do it for this review of Reads, Spider-Man Crawl Space Edition. Please look for more of us on our social media as well as the website at the SpidermanCrawlspace.com. And I'll be back in a couple weeks here. There, of course, review issues 59 and, of course, the big Valentine's issue, issue 60 of Amazing Spider-Man. Until then, faithful readers, I'll see you on the Crawl Space.